Welcome back to the Smithy showroom. This is Dave, and we're here today to show you the special features on this new Granite XT MAX. Now, one feature I'm really excited about is the new control switch system here. These are industrial grade switches, from the on-off switch, the emergency stop button, the speed control. All high quality industrial grade switches. Now these power the motor system. Let me invite you around back here. This is Smithy's 2 horsepower brushless DC motor system with the motor and the drive. Now the DC brushless motor is a constant torque motor. It gives you at least 40% more torque than the old brush type motors at the slow speeds. Also, it's a very simple system to adjust the belt tension right here on the side. Now, if you look a little closer on the back here, you see we've got a few little holes here drilled, different places on the machine. There's even some on the bed and on the side of the table here. What those are for, that allows you at any time to install a digital readout right on the machine. No special drilling or tapping needed. You can add things like that to your machine to add to the versatility of it. Now, when we're out here in the front, this is something that I really like also. On the table system, I mean, it's very obvious when you move too far left or right, but when you're going front to back, sometimes you can go a little too far and don't even notice it. What we've done is we've engineered in here a special shear key. So if you take this table back too far, instead of damaging parts inside the apron, it shears a little key. You replace that and off you go again. We've got extreme accuracy on these machines. We've got precision bearings in here that give you the accuracy you need for those projects that you're working on. So these are the standard features on our system here. Now, if you'd like, we can take a look at the special features on the lathe. Okay, we've seen the overall features of the Granite XT. Now let's look at some things specific for the lathe. I've got the mill head unlocked, so when I work on my lathe, I like to swing the head back out of the way like that. Our lathe here has what we think an excellent way to mount the chuck. This is called a D14 mount. That's how the chuck mounts to the spindle here. Now that D14 is one of the industry standards. It's a very easy, quick change type of mount. A lot of people make chucks for the D14, but we want you to buy your chucks from us because you want to, not because you have to. Now, as important as the chuck is what they call the spindle bore. That's how big of a piece can you get all the way through the head of the machine, right out the chuck. You can get a 1-inch piece of bar stock. That's pretty good size. In there, push it all the way through and out the chuck. So you can get an extremely long piece of material in your lathe here. Now, you have different ways to control your movements. Of course, you have your hand controls here with your rack and pinion. But over here, this is the quick change gearbox. This is what supplies power to move this automatically for power feeding, for threading. A nice thing with the quick change box, you can change these speeds or thread pitches by moving a lever or rearranging a tumbler here. Let's show you how this works. I'm going to turn the machine on. You see our feed screws turning there. Okay. Now I can still move by hand, but if I want to power feed, right over here, let's move this lever down. Okay. Now we're feeding in this direction. There we go. Speed it up a little bit. Back to neutral. Bring it up. Now we're power feeding in this direction. Again, back to neutral. Now for those threading operations, once you set your quick change gearbox up according to the chart for how you want to thread, you come over to your threading dial, pick a number on the thread dial, engage the half nut at that point, make your thread pass. Now when you disengage, you can back up And you can wait for that number to come around again. Let's see, there's 2. We're waiting for 1. Waiting, waiting. It's almost there. It's getting closer. There's our number 1 right there. And so that lets us make multiple passes on a thread. You get a smoother thread by cutting it a little bit at a time like that. Now, the last thing I want to point out on the lathe is the travel of the tailstock. You know, the original granites were nice, but they only had 2-inch travel here. The Granite XT is 3 inches. That's 50% more travel on that tailstock. That should drill deeper into a piece if you've got a drill chuck in your tailstock. Now, those are the special features on the lathe. Now, let's go and see what we can find on the mill. Okay, we've looked at the features of the lathe. Now let's take a look at the mill. You know, one thing I get a lot from folks is, well, a 3-in-1 machine, doesn't it take so long to change that from a lathe to a mill? Well, let's just see what happens here. We'll just slip that off there. Take our mill head, spin it around here, and hey, there's our mill. Didn't take long at all, did it? Now, on the mill setup here, we've actually given you some locks right here. Once it's locked into place, you can lock them down. But also, here's a nice little thing. If you need just a little more room here, you can actually raise that mill head, lower it, just like that, just that easy. And then these shoe-type locks, there's a brake shoe that pulls in from each side, and that's going to make sure that this lock's good and secure in place, so it doesn't move around on you. The mill head has actually grown. The original Granite Classic, this was about right back here. We've increased that working distance 50%. If you need more space between here and here, the cam locks right here will release that chuck. You can take the chuck right off the machine. Now, for mounting your cutting devices in the mill, we'll take the cover off up there. We've got a drawbar sitting down through here. This is our R8 system. The R8 was developed by Bridgeport. It's one of those industry standards. So you take your R8 attachment, whether it be a drill chuck, or in this case, we've got an end mill adapter, put it in there, snug it down with a wrench. It's that easy to install your tooling. Now, as far as actually moving your lathe spindle here, if I pull this out, I can unlock it here in the back and use it just like I would a drill press. Okay? If I want the fine feed, okay, I push it in, shake it a little bit, there it goes, and there's the fine feed for the mill right there. Again, you get to that dimension you want, and you just lock it in place. That's simple. Now, we've looked at features for the machine in general, special features for the lathe, special features for the mill. If you have any other questions on this machine, go to our website, give us a call. We'll be glad to talk to you. Again, this is Dave from Smithy. I want to thank you for watching.